Organize Me Radio, episode 75, Resilience in Words. I'm Naeemah Ford Goldson. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Organize Me Radio. I'm Naeemah Ford Goldson, and today we're talking to the co-creators of Resilience in Words, which is a motivational book, journal, and planner. Our first guest is an award-winning journalist. She is the CEO and founder of Josefina, which is a marketing and PR firm. Please welcome Josefina Loza. Welcome.
Thank you, Naeemah. I appreciate your time and being willing to share kind of our journey with resilience in words today. A little bit about me. Yes, Josefina is a PR marketing firm here in Omaha. The agency works with several different artists and creatives all over, as well as clients. And in a weird dynamic way, that's how Olabanji Stephen here, the other co-creator of Resilience in Words, had we like to say we create magic. We met, creatives are dynamic, and anytime you're able to put two creatives in a room or two creatives in a space, magic happens. So thank you for having us.
All right. And so then her co-creator, Olabanji Stephen, he is the creative director of Greek. So please welcome Olabanji Stephen. Welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's good to be here to share the journey, not just, we're talked about it together, but it's incredibly good to share with other people as well. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so before we really jump into talking about resilience in words, I would really love to learn your stories, both of you, like where you've come from, what your career journey was like. So, Josefina, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I am. I'm Latina. I'm a daughter of immigrant parents, Mexican immigrants, and everything I do really to honor my parents. Hence, like my name of my companies, my last name, which pays honor to my father. He worked so incredibly hard as a migrant worker and is in his late 60s and still working at a meatpacking plant in Omaha, Nebraska. So it's grit and it's hard work that I've learned from him. I studied communication, was a longtime journalist. It's funny when people say award winning because you win the awards, but it's like, and now what? It's about creating impact. And so with Josefina, even though I had spent 20 some years as a communicator, working from everything from the Omaha World-Herald to the Huffington Post to Colorado Springs Gazette, just all over the country, writing stories. It was really a moment in time where life and COVID had happened, and I had to pivot my career. I, at the time, was recruited. I had already been recruited and working at the University of Nebraska at Omaha teaching journalism, just knowing how things were changing in the field of, in news and print and magazine and radio and broadcast, right? And teaching young minds is what I loved. But when COVID hit, it put kind of a stop or standstill on everyone's schedule. And now getting back into the routine of productivity and figuring out what it is that I wanted. There were a lot of things that happened personally, a divorce, becoming a single mom, figuring out paycheck to paycheck how I was going to pay for bills. And so that's when you just go straight to your hustle game. What do I know best? What do I do best? And I'm a connector. I love brands and connecting people to understand, why they're necessary in the community. I work with lots of nonprofits and corporations, but building out their brand, their reputation, managing that, crisis communications, that's what I loved. Writing stories very well, that's what I love. So I created Josefina. It's just a flip-flop of my name, last name, first name, right? Fina Loza, Josefina. And I don't know, it flew, like everything took flight. And at the same time, that's when it was about the same time I had met Banji and was teaching workshops and connecting. I mean, we were in COVID, right, Banji? Like it was dynamic.
Yeah.
He was, thousands of miles away, yet we felt so connected in the creative community. And so that's where I started to see I was honing in my skills, not just as a journalist turned PR pro, but now as in what am I doing? What systems am I creating? How am I being productive? And what conversations am I having to connect like my day to day in a way that I see momentum? So that's what brought us to Resilience in Words and where we are today.
It's so interesting to hear the story and to hear what brought you to a certain place, and just knowing that all the things that you have to go through to get to where you are, and then you do Josefina and it's taking off, and now you have this book, planner, and journal, right? So it almost feels like it was like divine, like this is where you're supposed to be.
When we go through that process, Naeemah, like when you I think that's where all these quotes come from. I'm gonna just be real for a second. Because when you're going through trauma, drama, whatever it is that's happening in your life, right? When you're going through that storm, you don't understand. You're like, why me? And it was having a growth mindset and a positive mindset and shifting that perspective to understand I am grateful for the opportunity to continue to stretch myself in a way that's never been done. I can complain about the opportunity or I can get it done and continue to build. And so that dynamic, like you said, when you're going through it, right, when it's happening, you can lay there and just take it, or you can pick your head up and fight for it, right? So
Right. And you just picked your head up and moved forward. I love that. Olabanji, what about you? Tell me your story. How'd you get here?
Um, I don't know if there's that many details to my story. I had started as a designer way back in school. I think I was in my second year or third year when I started as a designer, and I found myself doing more of that than even school work. Although I didn't feel in school, I kind of did well, but it was me multitasking every single day, right? Building like a freelance career and staying in school as well, just to make sure that I had things locked down. And I went on to be I went on to be a creative director, working for some of the most amazing brands, Amnesty International. Um, it's just a lot of them around. I can mention like from around the world, brands from Australia, from the United States, from the UK, and sort of putting my foot down and then going on to start a design agency and being the creative director there. And so yeah, that is that's probably the summary of the journey. When I'd met Josie, we do a lot of things together, right? So we do client work together, we do creative work together. We just talk and paint things out, just flesh out ideas, even though we might never use them. Just, I wouldn't say for the fun of it, but we just create, right? Every time we come together, we create something. And we'd been meaning to like push something out there. And so she had said that, well, I've got this, codes that I've been putting together. To be honest, initially I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I'd like to see them, just as, yeah, she's my guy, right? So like I'm interested in everything that she does. And so she had sent me the document, and then I go through it and I see almost 1,000 quotes. I'm like, wait, what? You made this many number of quotes, and then I start flipping through them. And these are some really profound words. And she was like, well, let's make a quote book. I was like, okay. Are there quote books? Like, do people really do that? And so just off of that conversation and many other conversations, we started fleshing it out. Okay, well, how about we make this into an actual system that people need now? So I'm a psychology nerd. Like, I read and watch about just about anything that has to do with psychology. And so I'm like, well, there's some psychology behind journaling and goal setting and planning that we can incorporate into the single material and make it into a whole system. James Clear had said that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And it started to become a question of what system can we give people so that they can fall back on, something they can do day to day. And so we put the planner, the journal, and the inspiration together, and it was like a bomb. And so you wake up in the morning, you flip open a page, you get inspired. The next thing you got like things to do today, and then you it's just a finite list of things that everyone like on the average should be able to take or do in a day. And then you go to do those things, and then you come back, and then you can journal your experience. It's like, oh yeah, my day went like this, my day went like that. And it just become a whole system to help people be mindfully healthy, but also in pursuit of what matters to them and stay inspired all through it. So when we were done, we started not really knowing where it was going to lead. Not like we didn't know where it was going to lead, but we didn't know how it was going to come out. But when we got it done, it was just beautiful. It wasn't just beautiful, like, yeah, this is something cute. Like, it's meaningful. It's a meaningful, useful work that we were proud of. And so one of the ways that I gauge if I've done meaningful work is that if we didn't create it and we saw it on the shelf, would we still pick it up? And the answer to that for us was yes. And so yeah, that's the journey.
Okay, so again, the book Resilience in Words. I have it right here. It just flipping through it, I was amazed by, like looking at the quotes. I'm like, oh, oh, okay, yeah, I feel that. So, Josefina, tell me what motivated you to create the book? Like, what motivated you to put your quotes into a book?
Life, lived experiences. Um, I've always been everything about me has always been the attraction of words. They're dynamic. Words are sexy, words are brilliant, words, carry so much weight. How we use our words can either build us up or tear us down, you know? And so, in knowing that, when I was going through my divorce at the time, this is somebody I had been with for uh, 15 years, started a family. Everything about life was, for me, picturesque. I had worked towards this moment where I'm comfortable, I'm established, and then my world shook, right? And whenever we experience a great loss, so in the same year that we were, a week before COVID, we had separated physically. And then COVID happened, and I'm stuck with my thoughts and sitting in silence. And, there were other traumas, that, depression and anxiety, and then work, right? Work stressors. All of this was compounded. And I felt as though I could not breathe. That old saying, when it rains, it pours. Well, it was pouring. It was a hurricane. It started to become a tsunami, and I couldn't anymore. And so, what I started to do, since I love words, is I took lipstick and I wrote on my mirror that just little affirmations. You're brilliant. You're wonderful. You've got this. Go get it. And it was hard getting that wiped off. But I had to go clean the mirror. So then I started using sticky notes and Post-its. And I mean, I posted them by the front door, posted them everywhere, my computer desk, everywhere. And my children, my daughters started to see those notes and they would repeat them. And it's like those words were not just uplifting for me. I saw the impact it was having and a positive effect on my daughter, especially, well, daughters, but especially my eldest who struggles with mental health, right? So seeing those positive words, I thought, I need to write them down. I need to pin them. And some of them are just, I mean, like I don't know where they came from, my brain. Like it was what I needed that day to pick me up. Like who says humbly stunt on them? Like me, that's who. Your mama. Your mama's no buster. We're going to get this done. That kind of conversation, those pep talks. Some people do positive self-talk. Me, it's seeing those words. And when we put all those words together, I swore when I told Benji, like, hey, I want to do this motivational book. I want to, I have all these quotes. I don't think he was ready for me. I really don't think he was ready when he received them. And just we started going through them. One of our favorite things to do is just kind of pick a random quote and say, how'd you get there? Every quote has a story of resilience. And it's not just my story. It's when you read that quote, what are you actually picturing that has happened in your life? How does that now all of a sudden, how does that resonate with you? And that's what we want. We want to provide thought-provoking words in moments of whether you're fighting depression, it's waking up one day at a time just to get out of bed, or maybe you're applying for that promotion and you don't feel you're worthy or enough. You need to remind yourself that you've got this, you're worthy, stop self-sabotaging, go get that money, go get that career started, go jump off that cliff, sis. Because you know what? The bird, I think one of the quotes is the bird doesn't trust that it will take flight because the branch has it, right? Instead, it trusts its own wings. That's how that bird takes flight. And that's what we want you to do. Don't trust the branch. Sometimes you just got to trust yourself and go for it. So that's where the motivation came from. But what's dynamic is when Banji and I started talking, it was when motivation ends, this now, the system of what we've created with his wonderful designs, the task by task, dating the planner and making sure that you're held accountable for yourself. Journaling, whether you journal in the morning and say, this is my to-do list and this is what I want to get done, or throughout the day, this is how I feel about that task. Me at night, I like to reflect. I like to make my list at night. So I know what I'm waking up and getting done. When we put the system, that's why we say when the motivation ends, that's when the discipline comes in.
I think that's really great that you say that because I feel like there are so many people who might have creative minds but are afraid. They might have an idea for a business to start, but they're afraid to do it. And unfortunately, I feel like fear holds a lot of us back. And a lot of times it's, a moment where you're forced to decide what you're going to do, right? Like for me it was after having my first son and deciding to step away from the corporate world, um and then trying to get back after he was a year old, and it's like, sorry, you can't get in. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I always wanted to start a business, right? So I'm like kind of forced into it. It's like I'm pushed, like, okay, sorry, you're getting pushed off the cliff. Now what are you gonna do? Are you gonna, like you said, are you gonna fly? Like what are you gonna do? So I think that a lot of times in life, going through adversity and going through these things, we need to be reminded that, we're not alone. This isn't the first time something has happened to someone, but the way you handle it can, I guess change the trajectory of your life, of your situation. So I love that. I think that, having these quotes, like I'm telling you, I opened the book and I was like, oh, okay, like, yes, that's what I need. So I think that this will really help motivate people And I think it'll help people get unstuck if they're feeling stuck. Olabanji, so
Yeah.
when she reached out to you with this project, you mentioned you had a thousand quotes and you're like, what in the world? Have you done something like this before? Have you worked on a project of this caliber?
Um, Not exactly like this. I had done like compilations of things, but not up to 1,000. Yeah. I mean, definitely not like that, and not putting up a system or putting a system together like this. So, yeah, maybe not really.
I think what's cool about Banji though is it's perhaps how his brain works. Working with somebody who is different than I, right? That it created a great dynamic of like friction and also like who does that? Who says, "Hey," probably at one of our like wee hours in the morning, right? So that's probably like 2 or 3 a.m. I'm calling him. I got this brilliant idea. And the way he is so composed, even in his words here, the way he dissects what the task is, I thought was really cool. It was a great pairing. I feel like left
Yeah.
brain, right brain is
Yeah.
what was happening. Even you see it in the pages. So
Got it. So, okay, so the design of it all. So, Olabanji, you came up with the design of it.
Yeah.
What was that creative process like? How did you decide to lay it out in the way that you did?
For me, it was more like leaning into the psychology of it, right? Putting the tools that people needed together to help them achieve their dreams, pursue their goals. And, part of what I'd learned in creating this material is, or even earlier on, would be dream paralysis, right? So people are crushed under the weight of their own ambition, their goals, their dreams. And that could be because of many things, right? They might not know what to do. You might not know how to, pursue your goal. You might not know what the next step to take. You might think that you lack something that you need to pursue your goals, and then the lack of that makes you feel depressed or, sad or anxious, whatever the case may be. And so what we wanted to do was create something that inspired people. And so the second part was it had to have a system of pursuit. So it should propel you or keep you in check and make sure that you're constantly doing. And so we had the planner, and the planner has a finite number of things that you can do daily, which is a healthy number of things that an average human being should be able to do daily. So it's about 7 of them. If you're doing more than that, you're probably doing too much. If you're doing way less than that, I mean, it's fine as long as you keep it constant, but it also gives you opportunity to stretch to be able to reach that number. And so we had done that as well. So the third part was the the journal. And it became important to put a journal in this tool because people feel different kind of things, and feelings are such an important part of our makeup as human beings that it determines almost everything, right? So the feelings motivate us to do many things. So what we wanted to do was to provide a system as well that allows people to declutter their minds, right? And so you can step out of yourself and help yourself. And that's what journaling does. There's so much research that says, journaling reduces stress, journaling boosts creativity, it improves communication, encourages awareness, reduces stress, strengthens the immune cells, and improve moods. And the last part, which is improving your mood, was such a critical part because you want to be able to feel good, feel like you've got things going. And your day can go any type of way. Your mom can get angry at you. You might have a bad day with your friends at work and all that stuff. You want to be able to chronicle that and not, separate yourself from your thoughts and deal with those thoughts. And so that was why it was super important to create a journal as well. And we've got notes, we've got a site for note as well. So if anything comes to your mind during the day, you probably are not at your journaling time, you just want to write it down for when you're ready to journal or when you're ready to treat it. There's a note there. what is cool about that part is that it's also a space to doodle. So if you're a creative person and you want to like draw things, just write random things, right? You can also do that there. And so it became a whole system, more like a companion, right? That piece of material can easily be your friend. I mean, it's not like you should replace your friends, but if you're someone that if you're someone that stays, you like to be by yourself, you want to reflect and all that stuff, that piece of material can be the very thing that gives you that. I mean, you can see yourself 2 months before and 2 months after and be able to compare those two people like as though they were not you, and separate yourself from what you feel. It's just an incredible thing. So yeah, all that, the psychology part of it was also the neuroscience of it, got uh, influenced the design. And so it was pulling all those tools together and then presenting them in a single page and making sure that it got the job done. But yeah, that's it.
So, okay, so Josefina Olabanji explained the layout of it. What is the
Mhm.
best way for someone who purchases this book to utilize it? And will they become more productive if they utilize it correctly?
Absolutely. We provide a user guide at the front of the book, and it's done in a quirky way. So when Banji said companion, that's really what we envision this to be is, you know, how many times do you think of the planners, beginning of the year, end of the year, you're investing in, right? Calendars that, you're dating and you're getting excited about, and then the quarter passes, you hit like March, you slow down, and then come July, you have all these blank pages. I feel frustrated that you weren't as productive or you didn't write it down. You have no way to go back to it and reflect. This tool, so this companion, resilience in words, is intended for us to meet you where you're at. And that's the biggest thing. So in the user guide, the first thing we say is like, no, you need to date your planner. That's your companion. You need to romance that book, right? That's what it's about. We want you to date your planner because we want you to get the most use out of this book. And it may have been, hey, I've got to, and we even have a tracker, a streak to motivate you to keep going, right? But just in case, for some reason, a few months pass by, we don't want you feeling frustrated where you pick up and keep going, you know? In the user guide, the intention is to read the insight, to read that motivational quote, let it inspire you. Um, we call it like thinking of your little caffeine shot. It's your little espresso in the morning. Take a shot and keep going, um, date that planner. I'm not joking. You need to romance it. You need it because when you're physically writing that date in, it becomes kind of a contract to yourself. Like, I am now committing to this. And when you write down all the things on your to-do list, we did not want it to be an infinite laundry list of things to do. Because how many
Mm.
times do we feel we want to write down all of the things in our head? We want to get situated for it, but we just don't do. We want to get you to the point where you have enough to tantalize your senses that you can keep in rotation, but task by task, you're getting things done. Um, the notes section, again, decluttering, getting any of those random thoughts out of your brain and just jotting it down is important. We even tease and say it's like your junk drawer, right? You need to have a mental space to unload. Like, quit keeping all that mental real estate. How much are we doing when we overthink? I'll just write it down and put it aside, unpack that later. And then the journal part, whether you start or end your day, it's all about personal transformation. It's all about utilizing it where you are, you're reflecting, you're building, you're focused on self-discovery. There's a lot of things that you may be going through emotionally tied to some of these tasks that you have. but you've never associated them because you've never taken the time to be with yourself. And again, mark that streak. One of the things when I first started telling people, hey, I've got this project that we're working on, I was super excited. It's like, yeah, could I buy an already made planner? Yeah. We've already discussed what happens to those, right? Could I just focus on putting all I don't need to date it. I have a calendar that I use electronically on my smartphone. Absolutely. But what ends up happening when you go there, there's so many distractors. We want you to be with yourself alone, your words, your thoughts, to keep ushering you to work on yourself. So that's how I encourage people to utilize it. It's just understanding that there are obstacles, but if you create small actionable items each day, those are successes. That's what's going to align your actions with your broader life goals. And that's where momentum is created.
So, what do you hope people take away from utilizing this? Because we already talked about like what sets your book, journal, planner apart from others, what makes it different. What do you want people to gain from it?
Me, I want them to feel good about themselves. We want to unlock your potential. We even on the book's cover, we explain you dream now do. It becomes just that. Sometimes we overthink and we stop ourselves from actually accomplishing our goals because we don't do enough, and recently, Banji and I were talking about just that concept where you can plan all day, but unless you're going to do, nothing's getting done, right? So I can outline, my day. I can say all the wonderful things I have to get done, but I have to physically do. And, that's what we're training. We're training your brain to write it out. You have a roadmap, you're having these, self positive conversations and self-talk, getting in the right mindset of I can, I will, I'm going to now, I'm done. Let me start checking this stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's the biggest thing is unlocking people's potential. You don't know that you're destined for greatness until you step in and own that truth. And oftentimes I say oftentimes because it is, we get to the point where when it comes to self-discovery, it's scary. It's scary. If I have to sit in silence and think about my words or think on what I need to get done, or more importantly, if I have to self-evaluate, I always tell people, don't bring me the problems. I want to hear the solutions, right?
Mm.
Well, it goes with self too. And so that self-discovery and figuring out where my flaws are and how to improve on them. I mean, I have to take that too, task by task. So it really is self-discovery and unlocking your potential.
I mean, if I can add to that, one of the things that we hope to achieve was to solve the problem of, there's a thing that happens when you set goals or when you have dreams. Goals, for example, when you set goals, you automatically enter a failure state. The reason is because the moment you set a goal, you start to measure yourself against the goal. And at that point, you are quote unquote already a failure because you haven't achieved the goal yet. And so until you achieve the goal, it's like failure, 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 and then success. And part of what happens in between that space is the negative emotions that come from, pursuit, because you might not be able to, things might not work out well, right? The goal might still get fulfilled in, say, 1, 2, 3 years, whatever amount of time. But the space in between the time that you set the goal and the time that you achieve the goal, you know, just you start to associate negative emotions to that. And that's why some people achieve goals and they start to say things like it's lonely at the top. Well, maybe it is, I don't know. But
Maybe you
they
didn't take the
start
right
to,
people with you.
you know, and so a lot of things happen in between that space, and you see successful people start to treat depression and treat, so many kinds of lots of things. And part of what this system solves is it takes the reward and brings it closer to you, right? So rather than anticipate the reward for when the goal is achieved, you can get the reward from pursuit. So that's the antidote to the negative emotions that come from being in a failure state of, of having a goal. You can, you can cash in on the reward that comes from, hey man, I set out to do 7 things today. I got 7 of them done. I'm journaling right now. I feel great, right? You're not at the goal yet, but you got things done, and you can do that the next day. You open the streak marker and look at your streak, and you probably did not miss a single day in the whole month. Like, you will be so proud of yourself. And one of the most important part of setting goals, or goals generally speaking, perhaps more important than whatever else it is that comes as a benefit of setting goals, is the person that you become. And so one of my favorite quotes is, the work that you do works on you, right? So you're doing the work, but the work is also working on you, making you to become someone else, making you to become more consistent, more dedicated, more intelligent. You set out to read 10 books at the end of the day. Now you get to book number 10 and they give you a flag. But the reward's not really the flag, it's all the intelligence that you've gathered every single day reading the books. And so yeah, that was something as well.
I think it's so what both of you are saying basically is you have to do the work, right? Like the book
Yeah.
is only going to work if you put in the time, the effort, the energy. You have to do the work. If you really want to get unstuck, if you really want to make a change, you have to do the work. And that's the same with organizing too. I always tell people, I can come and I can help you get organized all you want, but if you're not willing to put in the time to learn how to declutter for yourself, to learn how to do it, you're going to stay in the state that you were in when I first met you.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
important to get that work done and just do it. Like it's not going to change if you don't take the initiative and do it.
Yeah. And if I would
Um,
add a final thought to that, it's that when you're when you're getting to the day-to-day of doing things that lead to your goal, it's important that you don't crush yourself, right? So if it's too hard, you will not do it. If it's too easy, you won't get any fulfillment from it. So you want to find a fine line between what is going to challenge you, but what is not too difficult for you to do. And so you've got resilience in words, for example, you've got the insight, you've got the whole system. And now you want to start to put it into use. You might want to dive in and say, hey, I'm going to finish 7 things today because that's the list that's there. But you probably are just getting started. So how about you start with 2, right? You didn't do 1 yesterday. You didn't do 1 week ago. So what makes you think that you're going to just crush 7 things, at once? So you want to make it incremental. And the psychology of that is that your progression is not gradual. Your progression is going to become exponential. And so that's the result that you get from that. However, if you take on too much at once, you might do it for the first few days or weeks, but eventually it might be unsustainable. And so you will not be able to hold yourself to that standard. And when you fall from it, then you start to feel bad and depressed, like, well, man, I'm a failure. But no, you're not. You just took the wrong approach. And so yeah, that's something to add as well.
And Josefina, you wanted to add something?
no, I mean, that's spot on. It's one of the things I felt, when going through the process, everybody, or even when you look at self-help books or books, right? Success stories, everyone says, I had, I've been going through X, Y, and Z. These were all the dynamic forces that were against me. And then my stick-to-itiveness got me where I needed to go. And then we talk about the success. Nobody talks about how to truly apply it. Like, what did
Mm,
you do? How did you
mm,
get unstuck? Like, what was it about when did you wake up? When did you go to bed? How many hours did you allocate? What was the rhythm that, brought you to the point where you and then had the success? So it becomes like learned behavior where we are taking a system, saying that this is what was beneficial for us. We had to look at it as a way of how to apply it day to day to achieve what we define as our success for that day. It's about applying it. So a learned behavior is only gonna, we talk about even, routines, right? It's the doing. It's the doing that's gonna get it done. So.
Okay, so I have to know, and this is a question for both of you. What's your favorite quote from the book?
That's a tough one, man.
You have a lot of them. We'll start with you, Olabanji. What's your favorite quote?
She's probably got like 1,000 running through her head right now. She's genius like that. Okay. So my favorite quote will probably be, "The challenge is the key to growing." And the tougher the challenge, the greater the chance for growth. And growth is the one thing that cannot really be taken from you, when it happens. There's a thing called the region beta paradox. And I don't know if I can quote it directly the way it's supposed to be quoted, but it's something like you're much more likely to come out of a very dire situation than you are from like an averagely terrible one. It's like the worse it gets, the more motivated or the more likely it is that you're going to win, so to say. And so that's just comforting. And it's pretty stable across all areas of life. You get the challenge solved, then you grow, and then the growth is yours and no one can take it from you. So yeah, that's mine.
I have so many, because I have so many attachments to so many and points of my life. But if I could share two, I think that's where I would go with it. The first being that magic was the day I was born, everything else is grit. And, I spoke to why I do it, right? Owning my truth and appreciating the legacy that was brought to me. It only took two people and that special DNA. I always call it that special sauce made me. That's magic, only me. But now, in order for me to make and live up to who I am, I have to work hard. I mean, that's that grit, right? And the other is the sun doesn't forget who it is just because there is a cloudy day. And I know that for me speaks to understanding that, man, we're going to have our good days and we're going to have our bad days. And I'm part of it is like, I'm shining bright. I know I shine bright. And I know that me shining bright sometimes irritates other people's spirits, and that's okay. But that's not me. That's not my problem.
That's them.
You can go ahead and take them clouds. Yeah. That's on you, cloud. Go ahead and drift on by. I'm still gonna shine. And that's what that is. It's sometimes when we have those moments where things aren't going our way, or we're putting in the work, or I'm never look for accolades. I only look to know that I feel good when I wake up every day and when I go to bed every day, and I was just a little bit better. And so that's just remembering who I am.
Beautiful. I love all of those quotes. I can't wait to really look through and see all the different quotes in the book. But in addition to this book, you both started a Resilience in Words podcast. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
The concept is it just doesn't stop with the book. It's about truly having a community of other creatives or other doers, right, that are like-minded and want to achieve, greatness for themselves, and how to unpack that together. And so we just launched our first episode. We have others that are going to be released, but it's dialogue. It goes back to me being the communicator. It goes back to, us designing a community, right? That we know that we feel valid and heard, and that we can continue to inspire one another, promote one another, educate one another. That's how we rise as a people. It's making sure that you're embracing all that has been said and all that's getting done, and having those moments and people that are truly going to celebrate you. I mean, how many times do we have communities or people or in our, we're doing great things. And then like the likes and the shares and the facade of whoever it is online goes away. We want you to know that, there's a community there that believes in you, and we're going to continue to cheerlead you. So those are the dialogues that we want to unpack on that podcast.
It's just conversations that, to be honest, that podcast is an extension of the conversations that I and Josie have, from time to time on a good Sunday or on a good Saturday. And we just talk for hours and, sort of share a little positivity and empower each other. And, that line, we wanted to make that available to everyone. It's like, well, here's how we stay up and do the things that we set out to do, and you can share and do and become better and be able to pursue your dreams as well. So yeah.
Okay. I love all of it. Every single bit of it. I love it. And I can't wait to see the success of your book, because I know it. I feel it. I feel the energy in the book. I know that you all are going to do great things with your book and your podcast. So we're going to
Thank
switch
you.
gears, and I'm going to ask you questions that I ask everyone who comes by Organize Me Radio podcast. And that would
Okay.
be, what is your favorite organizing product or productivity tool? Josefina, we'll start with you.
Oh my goodness. Um, so perhaps it's that whole concept of like spring cleaning right now for me. So when I go to organizing, like um I have a spare room and a small closet, right? And it just dawned on me, and that's why I've been researching, like, I'm going to turn the spare room into my grand closet. Why not? I own this house. I can do whatever I want with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it's for
Mhm.
organizing is everything that I'm exploring right now, because I want to put things on display. I want to go into a room and have it just be voluptuously all of my goodies and treats. So um right now it's shelving units. Right now I'm just like really head over heel for shelving units, because part of me is I'm a doer, so I like to build. So I likely will probably build my own systems, if that makes sense, so it fits my needs.
I love that. I've converted many a room into a closet. So just saying,
Okay.
like, if that's what you want to do, if you need help, let me know.
I will let you know this summer. I will let you know.
Okay,
Yes.
let me know. Olabanji, what about you?
Yeah, you might just call me a nerd, but my favorite organizing tools are the pen and the notepad. Oftentimes, what I need to organize are my thoughts, and so I just have to get them out and lay them down. So yeah, those would be my favorite organizing tool.
Okay, that makes a
Is
lot of
that too
sense.
nerdy?
No. That makes a lot of sense, especially for a creative director. That makes a lot of sense that a notepad and a pen is what you prefer to use. Okay, I like that. Okay, now the other question that I love to ask everyone: what is your greatest professional achievement? Olabanji, we'll start with you on this one.
Oh, my greatest professional achievement will be my team. It'll be leading a group of people and leading them to achieve success in projects, personally, in their different lives. Those are probably the things that bring me the most joy. It's the people that I work with.
I love that. Josefina, what about you? What's your greatest professional achievement?
So I love to teach. So I know it goes along with what Banji is saying. It's really truly unlocking the potential of others, is what I love to do. So I have recently created an internship program for girls of color who want to get into communication and marketing, not just through Josefina, but also sports communication, looking at male-dominated roles, and seeing how we can defy the odds and get them in corporate and see themselves out of themselves. So for me, I would, I love leaving my fingerprint on so many different minds and hearts because it's seeing where they go with it that I think is the beauty of the tapestry of what we're creating, if that makes sense. So going back to, it's never a personal thing. It's more so seeing the collective of what's happening.
Okay, I love that. I love what both of you are bringing to this. It's just amazing. And I really appreciate your accomplishments and everything that you have brought, especially being people of color. It's very admirable and I love it. Can you both tell us first how everyone can find out more about you? And then where can they purchase the book? We'll start with you, Josefina.
Um, so everything is always at Losafina,
Yeah.
Lozafina. I you can just Google me. You can connect with me online. If you search Losafina, you'll find your way to my direct cell phone. I've always been very transparent that way. So all my socials will lead to at Losafina or losafina.com or whatever it may be. I like connecting on all the socials. Um, and yeah.
Where can everyone purchase your book?
Oh, the book on Amazon, bro. Go to Amazon. You can also purchase it on losafina.com. We have different pop-up events that are going to be happening that we're scheduling, like a little book tour, which I think is phenomenal. So that way you can meet. But right now, Amazon.com is the quickest and easiest way to get to you. And definitely check out Resilience in Words, the podcast. We're building. Like I said, it's about creating community and having that collective. So we want to be inspired by other people's journeys too.
Olabanji, how can we find you?
It's Olabanji Stephen everywhere. Olabanji.com, that's the website. It's great.com for the agency. And yeah, Resilience in Words is on Amazon. It's everywhere. For your listeners, if anyone listening to this podcast right now gets a copy, um, you can email us and we will send you a free gift, a planning tool, an article that's not published yet, and it'll just change the way you plan. So we're happy to do that for your listeners only.
I love it. All right. Okay. So thank you both for being on. I really appreciate you taking the time and letting us know a little bit more about resilience in words.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having.
Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to tune in next time for an all new episode.